right, so we will go ahead and start. Welcome to our session. This is Seeds to Flourish. This is the grade level band 4 to 5. Now, we have done previous webinars on the K to 1 and the 2 to 3 grade level bands. So if you haven't been able to join for those, you can go ahead and access the recordings. They should be available. And okay, let's just jump right in. So, welcome, welcome. I am Erin, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And if you're on our webinar, you're probably familiar with our organization. We are Pure Edge Inc. We're a private operating foundation, and we provide direct service to organizations through professional development and strategy thought partnership. Like I said, my name is Erin. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction at Pure Edge, and I'm also a national trainer. And I am really excited to share one of our new curriculum resource with you today, which is Seeds to Flourish. We're really excited about it, and we're happy that there's been so much interest in this webinar series. So our goals are really simple. We're going to keep it short and sweet. I just want to introduce the sampler set, explore a lesson at the 4 to 5 grade level. And like always, at our Pure Edge webinars, we always incorporate the strategies and the practices we're talking about because these skills are not only intellectual skills. So we don't want to just talk about the skill. We actually want to practice the skill so we can feel how it feels in our body, how it feels in our nervous system when we try some of these strategies, because these are the same strategies that we are going to turn around and share with the kids in the curriculum. So we'll get to actually experience those today. And finally, of course, I'm going to make sure that you know how to access the resources on our website. Okay, so again, as a frame, the Seeds to Flourish curriculum is a sampler set, and it comes out of the full Flourish curriculum. The full Flourish curriculum is a comprehensive approach that really starts with compassion, and it includes both self-compassion and compassion for others. And these skills and strategies are for the educator and for the learner. Now, just to make sure we're all starting with the same foundation, compassion means to show care or kindness when someone is in need. And what's really important to remember is that compassion is a skill, and it's a skill that can be taught and strengthened with practice, right? And so that's why we can have a curriculum about it. We can really help the kids to learn some of these skills that are both skills in terms of handling their own stress and strong emotions, and also skills that they need to cultivate in terms of relating and, coexisting with others. And again, I already touched on this, but always important to say that these skills and strategies are not just for the kids, right? So we need to cultivate these qualities and capacities in ourselves as educators because the kids are learning from us both on a conscious and an unconscious level. So there are things that we do and that we model in the classroom that the kids are going to pick up on. So the more that we can model um, being a person who values themselves, who takes care of themselves, who has taken the time to develop the ability to handle um, our challenges and our stresses and our difficulties in a way that that brings compassion, that invites compassion, that treats ourselves kindly, the more that we model all of this for the kids, the more they're gonna connect with this type of work. And so, yes, modeling is about doing a breathing exercise with them and in front of them. That's one part of modeling. But the modeling umbrella is a little bit broader than that. So when we want to support the well-being of the kids in our care, it's imperative that we are not drawing from an empty cup so that we're supporting our own well-being as well. And the beauty of incorporating strategies, skills, practices, and curricula like this one into your classroom is that you create an opportunity for shared well-being. So when you lead a breathing exercise for the children, you are also doing some breathing, and of course, ideally, you're doing your own support and practices outside of the classroom, but we're building into our classroom strategies that support us and the kids. So, like I said, um, Seeds to Flourish is a sampler set. So we just chose a few sample lessons from the full Flourish program. And we made the lessons more accessible. So we shortened the lessons and made them really easy to implement. And I'll get into some of the specifics of that in a moment. This slide just acknowledges the extraordinary collaboration that is behind the Flourish program. The authors of the Flourish curriculum are Tish Jennings and Alexis Harris. And it really grows out of a collaboration between the Compassionate Schools Project, many other institutes at the University of Virginia, and again, with the support of Pure Edge. The components of the curriculum that are also reflected in the sampler set are core social and emotional competencies. So the curriculum starts with a unit on compassion, and then it progresses through other units that address specific skill sets that are going to support our ability to both give and receive compassion. Every lesson includes mindful movement and physical activity, and we really are cultivating a relationship with the body, with taking care of our body in a kind and compassionate way through these lessons and through this curriculum. There are mindful awareness practices in every lesson and skills and mindsets for lifelong health. In the full Flourish curriculum, one of those skills is really developing some nutritional understanding and competency, and that's a really lovely addition to almost all of the units. But we did not touch on that in the sampler set because we just wanted to focus on the first three bullet points. So, Seeds to Flourish, like I said, includes 5 sample lessons. The lessons are designed to be easy to deliver and easy to fit into your week. So, the lessons can be delivered in as little as 20 minutes. And it's a scripted lesson. The curriculum tells you exactly what to do when. Any of the strategies and practices are scripted. And then there's also video supports for the movement practices. We have found in working with educators that a lot of times the movement is the piece where they might feel a little more out of their element. So we wanted to be sure to offer a range of ways that you all could implement the movement with the kids to make it simple and fun. The topics in the 4 to 5 grade level band that we focused on are what is compassion, environment and emotions, a stressful lesson, my perspective, your perspective, and developing healthy friendships. Um, at this developmental level, there's some really fun ways that the learners are engaged in these lessons and these activities. Um, there's use of music, there's use of some songs. Um, they, without going into too much detail, it's really appropriate for this age level, and the kids respond really well to it. We're really including their voice and letting them kind of share about their experience. And it's relevant to the lives that, these kids are living right now. Okay, so let's start with our first practice. And this exercise, called the letting go breath, comes from the lesson that I'm going to walk you through in a few moments. So this is one of the mindful moments in the selected lesson for today. So as you settle in to get ready for your practice, I just invite you to make sure that you're comfortable. So we're just sitting comfortably. If you're in a chair, putting both of your feet on the floor, if that's something that's accessible for you, sitting up a little bit tall and softening the shoulders. You can bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. And you can open or close your eyes. That is completely up to you. What we do with the letting go breath, so as I talk here, I'm just going to give you a little frame. I'm just going to invite you to just start to become aware of your breathing while I talk a little bit about the exercise, and then we'll jump right in. Okay, so the attention is on the breath. So, with the letting go breath, it's a really nice one for helping our systems to calm down. And what we're going to do is I'm going to talk us through extending our exhale. So, our exhale is going to be slightly longer than the inhale. Okay, so let's take a nice gentle breath in and a nice relaxed breath out. Let's do that again, breathing in and out. And this time, breathe into my count. So we'll breathe into a count of 3, breathing in for 1, 2, 3. And we'll breathe out to a count of 5, breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try that again. Breathe in 1, 2, 3. Breathe out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do 2 more rounds. Count for yourself, okay? So we're breathing in for a count of 3 and out for a count of 5. Last round. And when you're finished releasing your hands down, if you would like to share a response in the Q&A to let everyone know how that felt for you, what you noticed after trying the letting go breath, go ahead and do that. Okay. So the lesson I chose to highlight for our session here is lesson 3, a stressful lesson, which I think is a kind of cute and playful title. Every lesson has a goal statement. Students will explore what stress means and how it feels. They will identify stressors in their lives. There's an essential question for each lesson. For this one, it's why do I feel stressed? And an I can statement. I can identify stressors, right? So really simple, really specific, right? These are they're short lessons, they're to the point, and we're really hoping to just, you know, highlight some of these skills for the kids. So this lesson starts, like all the lessons, it'll start with the calming and focusing exercise, which I highlighted in the very first session on K to 1. So if you're curious about that, you can refer to the K to 1 video. After the calming and focusing, we bring the kids, we give the kids these post-it notes or one post-it note, and you ask them, write one thing that causes stress for a kid your age, right? And I like the way this is worded. This is not too personal, right? It's not saying what stresses you out, which of course they're free to share from a personal perspective, but the way the question is worded kind of gives a little distance, which I think is skillful. Once they've written down something that causes stress or can cause stress for a kid their age, we have these signs that are hung in a couple different areas of the room. And these are included in the lesson. And you can see it's sort of like a thermometer, not very much stress, some stress, and a lot of stress, right? So then you can invite them to hang their post-it under which category they think it might belong in. And then, there's a chance to debrief a little bit, kind of noticing themes, noticing trends, seeing what the kids come up with. After that, just a few minutes on that, you get to play a game with the kids. And this game is called Juggling Stress. And this is one you might be familiar with. I have seen it in a different capacity outside of this curriculum, and it's a really effective teaching tool. So you have the kids in a couple of groups. Um, you have balls or bean bags, and you have their task is to kind of throw the bean bag from one to the other, keep it moving in the circle without dropping it on the floor. And then as the facilitator, you continue to add, more balls, more bean bags. So, at first they just have one ball going around their circle and it's pretty easy and smooth. And then, another ball gets added, it gets a little more complicated. And then, you get to a point where it starts to feel really out of control because there's so many balls that they're trying to keep track of. And then you debrief the game. And some of the questions are how did you feel when you started the game and only had a manageable number of balls, right? So probably that felt kind of fun and stimulating and invigorating. And then, of course, we can make parallels to how, we all need a little bit of stress in our lives, and that actually a little bit of stress is good for us. But the problem comes in when stress becomes too much or lasts for too long. And then again, asking the kids these types of questions. And then I like how here they make the connection to the previous activity. So they say, okay, now one of those stressors that we put in the not very much stress category, how would that feel if we already had like three other balls in the air that we were juggling? And you can kind of help the kids understand the concept of, how stress is not a static thing. It's kind of, it fluctuates. It depends on all the different areas of their lives, and where like a quiz might feel like not a big deal to you, maybe your friend who's taking the same quiz, it's very stressful to them because of X, Y, and Z that's already going on in their lives, right? So we're just kind of helping ease them into a more sophisticated understanding of stress. And um, again, what happened and how did you feel? And again, that's building that self-awareness capacity where they're understanding their feelings. And so, how did you feel when you started to get too many balls in the game? After the game, we move into the mindful movement portion of the lesson. And I just want to pause here and say, of course, if you have any questions, feel free, or responses or thoughts that you want to share, feel free to, interact through the Q&A. The mindful movement portion, it ties to the lesson theme. We always include some teaching tips. There will be step-by-step instructions. You can see right here. I'm not sure if you can see my pointer, but you can see under the Fresh Start sequence um, title, there's some step-by-step instructions for how to do the exercises. There's always going to be visuals right there on the page. So they're really handy. They're small. So something you can kind of visually reference while you're leading the kids. And there's always an indicator when a video is available. So at the top left corner, you can see there's a note, and that note just reminds you, hey, there's a video to support the kids as they practice the mindful movement. Now, in this lesson, the lesson is about stress. And so the tie into the lesson theme is really just that we can use our bodies to release some of the stress that we have. And then we invite them into a practice that supports them in doing that. Now, because we're in a webinar, I'm not going to have us do the full Fresh Start sequence, but I am going to share a video of the Fresh Start sequence part 1, just to help familiarize you. So this is what the sequence looks like. If you would like to follow along with the video, I'll invite you to stand up, and you just want to make sure you have enough room wherever you're standing to fold forward. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get off the screen so we can experience the video together. Okay. Okay. Um, so as far as the mindful movement goes, you can see that, um, there we go. As far as the mindful movement goes, you can see it's really simple, it's easy, we have a lot of supportive options. And yeah, just let me know if you have questions. And each lesson, well, not the very first lessons, but once it's introduced, there is a rest and reflection portion in each lesson. We don't have a whole lot of time today, but I will take 1 minute for us to rest together because it's so important. So for our rest, I'm going to have us do it seated. Of course, if you're at home and you'd like to lie down, go for it. But if you're seated, just in a really supported seated position. So maybe leaning back in your chair, just letting your body release. And again, eyes can be opened or closed. Just letting your hands rest on your belly. And just noticing the movement in the belly as you breathe in. Noticing the movement in the belly as you breathe out. Let's do that 2 more times. Last one. And when you're ready, opening the eyes, short and sweet. right? But just a reminder that it's possible to build these small doses of rest into our day, and every little bit helps. Um, so lesson three, the stressful lesson, did not include a lesson extension, but some of the lessons in the curriculum do. And they're just ways to kind of extend the learning. And they add time to the lesson, of course. Sometimes they work well when delivered at another time, and you can also deliver them during the lesson itself. Okay, I'm going to move quickly because we are getting near to our time. I want to make sure we know how to access these resources. So you can see here, there's a link. It's pureedgeinc.org/register new account. This is a QR code. If you don't yet have a Pure Edge account, you can go to that link right now. And thank you, Jesse, for sharing the link in the chat. So you can click on that link as well. I'm going to stop my slideshow and I'm going to bring us to the website. So let's see. Here we go. I think this is it. Always so happy when it works. Okay, so here's our lovely Pure Edge ink. And when you get to the homepage, if you already have the account and you've already signed in, you just scroll down to curriculum, right? And you can see all the different curricula here. I click on Flourish and it gives me a little, overview. I click on View Curriculum and then I'm going to choose Flourish again. And then it brings me to the Flourish page. So since our session is on the 4 to 5 grade level band, I'm going to click there. And then it gives me some options. So up here, these are the resources for the full Flourish curriculum. And we scroll down a little bit and you can see K to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5. So here is Seeds to Flourish, grades 4 to 5. So that's where you're going to get the curriculum manual. Um, and then the other resource we can explore is the video library. So you click on video, and I've actually already pulled it up. So it will bring us to this Flourish video page. Again, you can scroll down and these, just these are the 4 to 5 videos. They're the same. Most of the videos are the same for all of the grade levels, but you can access these videos here. Several of these are in the Seeds to Flourish curriculum. They're available like the one we did together, which was music only, which is universal, right? Kids speaking any languages can follow music. We also have some with voiceovers in English. We have voiceover in Spanish, and we also have ASL interpretation, which is a really lovely set. I really like those ones. They have the English voiceover with an ASL interpreter. So we really wanted to make these videos accessible to all learners. And I always like to highlight down here, we have Tish Jennings, who is one of the curriculum authors and a real expert in mindfulness in education, both for educators and with the kids. And she has some practices for educators. And this is like a little gold mine. So I encourage you to check those out. Okay, so that's the curriculum page, and I'll go back to our slide deck and briefly whisk us through implementation. Our real guidelines in terms of implementing this curriculum is just consistency, right? So it's 5 lessons. You could do a whole week and you could do a lesson every day in the week and wrap it up that way. You could deliver Seeds to Flourish once a week, twice a week, whatever works for your setting. The one recommendation we would make is on non-lesson days. So if you were doing it once a week or twice a week, On non-lesson days, we would recommend incorporating some of the mindful movement or mindful moment practices into the structure of your school day, and that will help reinforce these skills and strategies for the kids. Um, Okay, we are at our time. If you have to go, I understand. Feel free to sign off. Thank you all so much for joining. If you have any questions, I'm happy to stay and answer questions, or you can always reach out to us on the website, or you can send me an email. One of our favorite things to do is to hear from educators who are implementing this work with learners. And, we love to hear from you all. So if you are going to give Seeds to Flourish a try, let us know. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.